What's all this commotion about?
It's the Denton and Sasquatch Show.
This place is half talk show, half weird daycare. I love it.
Reports of strong interference with radio.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome once again to the Denton and Sasquatch Show. My name is Sasquatch, and with me as always is Denton. He's the guy that lives in Alabama. I'm the guy that lives in California, and this here is our little dog and pony show. How's it going, Denton?
I am Denton. I do live in Alabama, and I'm doing fantastic because I did not drown this weekend. But we have flood warnings and the whole works. We had a lot of rain last 36 hours or so. It's great because I didn't have to water anything.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't drown because, you know, that would be sad.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the thoughts, but there's a lot of trailer parks that got washed down, and that's a really, really good thing.
Well, aren't you glad you don't live in a trailer park?
I am. Hey, look here.
Yes.
So today, this weekend, this Sunday, we have a friend of mine who is a Christian, conservative, and he's black.
What?
He hasn't been shot yet. Can you believe that? Now,
wait,
not only that.
I thought I thought we had a no black rule on this show. No. We have a no African American rule.
Oh,
okay.
If you're hyphenated, get the heck out of here.
There you go.
Now,
all right.
Hey, wait. No, we're doing the intro thing. We ain't brought you in yet. Not only that, you're going to be amazed about this, but I have a friend who is in the entertainment industry. Used to be. That is to say, I have a friend who is artsy-fartsy, hard to believe, okay, and he doesn't use crayons.
All right.
So, with no more further whatever ado, I introduce to you Kwuam Adams. Kwuam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, y'all. How's it going? It's great to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm not too far from you, Denton. I'm here in Georgia, and I think the rain, Georgia, and I think the rain that you had there is washing us out right as we speak. But yeah, I was glad to be here. And believe it or not, I used to be in your neck of the woods there, Sasquatch. I used to live in California for about 10 years.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, man. So we got the cross-country connection here.
Whereabouts in California?
Irvine and Anaheim. I lived in Anaheim for part of the time and Irvine for the other half.
I grew up in Anaheim, and I can throw a rock and hit Irvine. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Anacrime, that's what they call it.
Yeah, that's sort of what it's turned into. The home of Disneyland.
And that's kind of heartbreaking.
Home of Disneyland and illegal immigrants. Oh, wait, but maybe we get too quick into that.
Yes, very much so. How long has it been since you've been to California?
About 6 years, 7 years.
You'd probably be blown away at how much things have changed in that time.
Wow. Yeah, I had to leave. I was there when Schwarzenegger was still the governor, and what was the last straw was when I sent in my tax returns and I got an IOU back from the government. I'm not even kidding. I got an IOU back. And I was like, oh wow, okay, that's a first.
I totally believe you.
Yeah, man.
You know, I'm glad y'all are talking about California because Kwuam, I hate to butt into this this reunion and everything here, but time is of the essence because we are, what have we got, 50 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, 50 minutes. Kwuam, you were in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Explain that.
Well, right out of high school, I went off to California to go to college, and then I met some people because I've always been a musician, play 3 instruments, sang, rap, and I actually was became a Christian when I was 15. So I wanted to my goal was to use my talents in the secular realm, but as a Christian in order to bring light to the God that I serve with my talents, right? So I didn't want to be confined to the quote unquote Christian industry, but I was willing to start there and carry the cross over, right? So I was in California, went to college there, met some friends, and then by certain set of circumstances, ended up in Nashville and started touring around, the Northeast and the Northwest, and just doing music and performing in different areas, and trying to get record deals like everybody does, and kind of finding out the slime that you have to sort of go through in order to quote unquote make it. And
could you explain us the slime you refer to?
Real quick though, before you do, I had a very similar experience in the radio industry, because there's a lot of slime there too. So
yeah, man. So here's the thing. Everybody that I know that knew me said I had the more than enough talent to quote unquote make it, right? So, but that wasn't my goal, was to quote unquote make it. My goal was obviously to, like I said, bring the crossover, and if I quote unquote made it, then that was just icing on the cake. So what I did was, went out there and we sent out our press kits and our packages, and we would press the flesh and just go around and do all the shows that we could do. But we come to find out that they want you to fit into a particular mold. They, when I say they, I mean the powers that be that hold the keys in the music industry, and it permeated even down through to the Christian record labels as well. So the slime that I'm talking about is that they literally want you to compromise your morals, to fit into their mold, to fit into what they think sells. I mean, there's a reason why only 12 songs play on rotation on radio, the same 12 songs. There's a reason why certain artists make it and others don't. They want to say it's conspiracy theory, but it just happens over and over and over again. And you look and you say, well, why is this person, doing well, and they are not anywhere near as talented as person B? Well, because person A generally was willing to let them mold you and fit into a certain mold that the person A, the second person wasn't willing to do. And that was my experience. I was telling Denton a little while ago when we were talking pre-show that my partner and I had a huge deal on the table. And the information we got back was, yeah, we love your stuff. We love your style. We've seen you perform. We want to sign you, but can you ease up on the Jesus stuff a little bit? Can you pull back on that? Now, they wouldn't have minded if I was talking about sex, this, that, and the other, misogyny, any of that. They wouldn't have minded if I was talking about that. But if I'm talking about something that doesn't fit their mold, doesn't have their stamp of slime on it, then they wouldn't. Obviously, we turned it down, and I was able to make the decision. I'm willing to sacrifice, quote unquote, making it for keeping true to who I am. So,
well, that kind of explains something, because I'm not going to mention any names, because everybody's human and we make our decisions and our mistakes and everything. But you know a name or two of Christian artists that start out really strong and then they get caught up in drama.
Yep. I mean, and I can tell, some of the, not the newer people now, but some of the older, maybe in the ones that were popular in the 90s and the early 2000s, I know them personally. And
do you?
I used to hang out with them when I lived in Nashville, and I would see how they were on stage as to how they were behind closed doors. But that kind of dovetails into something else. Exiting out of the Christian scene, if you notice, when you get into the sort of the machine of secular, liberal entertainment, that whole ideology that comes along with it, if you notice, every time a young, innocent, nice female singer comes out, they start out nice, innocent, bright, singing about love and relationships, and then as time goes on, they always turn dark. Every single one of them. Taylor Swift.
The Disney characters or actors.
They all start out sweet and nice. I mean, you have it's obvious. You can go right down the line. Beyonce, who is the huge, queen of the world, so to speak. She started out with Destiny's Child and was innocent and nice and smiley and everything. And now she's this totally dark ice princess queen, that they turn into that. And I think what that is like, in order for you to remain popular, you eventually are going to have to turn towards what they deem as, what they push down the throats of everybody as what is, what they want to sell, what they, every single one of them, from Rihanna to Beyonce to Britney Spears to Christina Aguilera to Taylor Swift. I don't know if you guys are familiar. When Taylor Swift first came out, she was the most innocent. That was her image. And her last album, she has turned to this dark, like her videos have snakes and stuff all in it. And it's like it happens to every single one of them.
Well, I think you're answering my question that was in my head. These people actually start off being actually innocent, and then they're drugged into the world of darkness. Yep.
And we were talking about this earlier. There is a particular reason for doing that. Like, if one or two, it's happening, one or two, whatever, you could say it's a fluke or maybe chance thing. But when the same thing permeates throughout different genres, different platforms, then you have to think that there is a plan behind it. There's certain people that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. A lot of the record labels, TV stations, news stations are owned by the same three companies. They're all owned by the same companies, and they have the same message that is pushed out, the same one. Yeah. Guys, I'm going to give you an experiment, okay? Something that me and my wife have noticed. And I don't know what the reason is for this, but just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, next time you watch TV, you're watching television, network television, take a look at the commercials, right? I want you to take notice of the commercials that have families in them. And I want you to notice the demographic of the family. You will see that almost every single commercial is a mixed couple. That's a new phenomenon that I was like, how? Okay, I don't know how people don't know that. I don't know what the reason why they're doing that, but every single commercial is a mixed couple. And,
well, there's two things going on. There's mixed couples, and I've noticed that, and there's also same-sex couples.
Yep. So we were talking about it earlier. It's like the media, and it's not a conspiracy theory thing. The media they definitely have a intention in mind. They're intentional about this because behind the scenes, the meetings that go on, the production meetings that go on, it's all talked about. Storyboarding, it's all talked about. Don't think we shouldn't think that there isn't a mindset behind it. Going back to the music, that there's there's a certain reason why certain songs get out there, certain styles of singing, because that's what they want to push to you.
Now this is going to sound kind of crazy, and that's fine. If you think it's crazy, just tell me so. But have you noticed, I don't know how in-depth you are, I can imagine how in-depth you are in paying attention to stuff, but have you noticed that there's a lot of satanic symbolism and Illuminati symbolism?
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on that.
Go ahead. Well, I'm trying to get you started on that, as a matter of fact, if you're...
Yeah, man, that has been a prominent thing in music for at least a decade. If you're paying attention, and that now it's starting to creep into television and commercials. And I'm gonna tell you something. They're slick with it, man. They're really slick with it, because what they do is they piecemeal it out. They don't just hit you with it 100% in your face, because then people would be alarmed. They let it out little bit by little bit until you are inundated with it and you've accepted it. If you're not, paying attention. But as far as the music is concerned, all you have to do is go look at videos of various artists on YouTube, and it's been talked about a lot ad nauseum with people that are exposing it. But there's certain symbolisms, certain things that they have that are really bringing out the Illuminati symbolism, and then what they
CNI,
do, the CNI, the black and white tile on the floor, and the people who it's funny to me because it kind of comes full circle. Your best friend and philosopher Jay-Z is now being put up on this pedestal as this great icon of philosophy and forward thinking, and his wife, the Queen, Beyonce. When this guy started out, got his popularity rapping about the drugs that he sold and how, you know, women are, you know, you could imagine the misogyny in all of his music. But in every one of his videos, it's got evil, like not even trying to mask it.
Yeah, but Beyonce didn't start that way.
It didn't. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? She started out like the nice girl.
And that's exactly the point I was making earlier, is that she started out like that. But again, in order for you to reach that next level, that level of not just stardom, but like super stardom, where you're almost untouchable, there is a definite thing that they give up and a definite persona that they take on. You know, quickly.
Well, how do you think that happens? How is it that? How are they approached? Are they approached? Does it just incrementally, like you were saying earlier?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how they're approached. I would assume from where I was being around it, you know, and seeing some of it, I would assume that what happens is as they are, you know, the record label will take a chance on them, or they'll have some popularity. Nowadays, it's you know, indie artists who do well online. And then they'll be slowly approached to see how much they will compromise. You know, it used to be back in the day. It used to be A&R, the A&R people that would come to the artist and say, "Hey, I need you to hike your skirt up a little higher. I need you to put this darker makeup on, and you need to start singing about this." They don't really do that like that anymore. What happens is the record companies, the labels, even people that own, like Viacom, the people that own Viacom will sit down and have meetings with the Jay-Z's and things of that nature, and they will, or Beyonce or whatever, and they'll say, "Look, we want to promote your next album. We're going to get it. We're going to bring you to superstardom. We're going to get you, you know, to perform at the Super Bowl, this, that, and the third. But we need you to." They'll be suggestive about it, and then, you know, it's really sinister the way they do it. And I think a lot of these artists are being used. Some of them have got to the point, I believe, where they are on board, but most of them are being used. They're useful idiots. I'll just put it like that.
Well, some of them, I think, I'm not that much into entertainers, but I did watch a video or two of entertainers that made interviews where they're almost sending messages.
Yep.
You know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So check this out. You know, and we can maybe move on to other stuff if you want, but the perfect example of what we're talking about is look up the video for Jay-Z. Now, this video premiered after a Super Bowl, which I was highly upset because it was a Super Bowl that my team won, and so I was excited about it. But then his video came on afterwards, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, the name of the song. But there's a video that premiered after it, and
who's
it
your
was
team?
The New York Giants.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll just leave that at that right there. But they had just beaten the Patriots. This was years ago, and so Jay-Z's song came on, and it was talking about how the song talks about how he is, you know, the best, and he's not going to ever give up, and there's, you know, he doesn't care what haters are talking about or whatever. That's kind of what the song is about. But the imagery in the video is so over the top, Illuminati, demonic, and you're like, what do these images have to do with what you're talking about? It has nothing to do with it, but it's got so much symbolism in it, and it's so eerie, and it's a rap video, you know, and they intentionally put these messages out there. You know, he had a song called And the reason why I'm talking about Jay-Z, because, you know, hip hop was my thing, but it permeates throughout all. And hip hop, let's be honest, right now kind of runs the lifeblood of the music industry right now.
Have you noticed that there's been such a crossover?
Yeah.
Between hip hop and country and hip hop.
I was going to say that. I turned on the country station today, and I was like, the beats behind the songs. I mean, now, you know, they're definitely country, but you can definitely hear the influence, the hip hop influence. So anyway, he had, you know, I'm originally from New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. So, you know, any New Yorkers, once you're from New York, you're always New York. You love anything New York. And he had a song that came out called New York, right? Him and Alicia Keys sang the song. And so I was like, yes, this is a great anthem for where I come from. But then the third verse, he's telling a story about some girl who's moved to New York and had a hard time. And he throws in there that that life begins when the church ends, and that Jesus is not the answer for you. And I'm like, why would you? What is the reason for doing that? Like, you could totally complete your song and get your point across without taking a shot at Christianity. But that's part of their whole, and has many songs like that. You know,
you've got to be a sellout to begin with before you can do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, he's him, Beyonce, you know, Taylor Swift, you know, Katy Perry. Don't even get me started on her. You know,
she's lost.
Well, here's the thing. I've sat in a service where her parents preached, right? And her dad is what we like to say on point. He is right, you know, and he talks about praying for her, and my daughter's lost, and he doesn't, you know, but you could not find two more polar opposites than Katy Perry and her parents. Same thing. She started out as a Christian singer, but wanted to be famous and sold out.
I know you're a father.
Yes,
I know this.
I have two sons. We're
Facebook friends. We know this. What would you say if your sons said, I want to go into the entertainment industry?
If they told me that, I would, well, first of all, I'm teaching them young. Like, they're getting, yes, I am indoctrinating my sons, right?
You have to.
With the truth. So by the time they get to the age where they are thinking about wanting to do music or whatever, they will have already been inundated with truth from me and my wife. And I'm blessed because my wife is more animated about it than I am. Which, side note, it is possible to convert people, because she was a Democrat and I converted her, and now she's more of a conservative than I am.
Oh, wow.
she like, no, Kwuam, that's not right. You have to say something about it. But so my sons, I would say, listen, God has given you your talents for a reason. Okay? You weren't in your mother's womb filling out an application saying, you know, I want to be able to do this, that, or the third. He just gave it to you. And if he gave it to you, then he gave it to you for a reason. And he didn't give it to you to use against him. So yes, you can do music, pursue music all day long, but I will not support it if you're going to go into the secular realm singing for them. You know, you can go and try to do it as a missionary, you know, like I was going to do, but please note that, and this goes along for conservatives as well that are maybe not be Christians or whatever, just conservatives as well. Jesus said that don't be surprised when they hate you. Not they might hate you, but he said don't be surprised when they hate you. Why would they hate you? Because of your message, because of who you represent. You know what?
This is a perfect segue time right here. Now, your wife, I'm assuming she's black as well.
Yes.
Okay, so y'all are both black?
Yes. And she's from Nigeria. She's from Nigeria. Yes.
Well, that explains why she is so conservative being here. Okay, so I'm understanding that. Now, you're both black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming she's an American citizen.
Yes.
Okay, y'all are both black Americans.
Yep.
Who are Christians.
Yep.
Who are conservatives.
We are the pony, the unicorn.
May I even suggest that y'all are constitutionalists?
Yes, most definitely.
Now, you have a particular, you call yourself a particular name. What is that name?
You mean Christocrat?
Christocrats, yes. The same thing pretty much as constitutionalists, except for with the constitutionalists, we include those who are not Christians.
Right.
Just as long as you understand what the Constitution says, the founding of the Constitution and the laws of nature. Nature is God. But you're black. You're not Jefferson White.
Right, right. I'm a chocolate brother who believes in the Constitution from the beginning.
That can't be easy.
It's not. I mean, I will tell you this. As time is going on, more and more people are waking up. And but when I first started really getting into politics, which was about 10 years ago, you better not be black and want to vote Republican. And, back then it was like, George Bush. If you said anything as like liking George Bush or liking the policies of the Republican Party, you would leave the family barbecue tarred and feathered.
Can you imagine how Walter Williams and Thomas Sowell survived?
Oh my goodness! Well, Thomas Sowell seemed like he just didn't care. He was like, "This is what it is. Y'all like it, don't like it. That's just what it is." I got my nice salt and pepper afro and and my tweed jacket. So I'm good. Yeah, I don't care what y'all have to say. That's what I really admire about Thomas Sowell, because he would just lay things out in such a simple manner, and then look at you and let you figure it out.
Yes. He was brilliant. His brilliance was just above everybody else's, and you had to figure out why you weren't as brilliant as Thomas was. And he's great.
Well, here's the thing.
We keep on referring to him in past tense. He is not dead. He's just too old to be president. That's all. Right.
He retired a little while ago. But here's the thing. I find that even though there's a strike against you to the liberals, being black, they assume that I'm supposed to think a certain way. And I'll be honest with you, these are a lot of white liberals that grasp their pearls when they find out that I don't believe like they do, because they think that black people, Hispanics, they belong on the plantation of the Democrat plantation. And how dare I think for myself? And so that's what happens. But what I find defeats all of that is just using simple logic. Like we on the right have logic on our side, because we can say 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 7 and the color blue and a banana. It equals 2. And here's why it equals 2. And you can scream and cry about it all day long, but at the end of the day, it's still going to equal 2. You can, do cartwheels, but a person who is born with male chromosomes is a male. There's no two ways around it. I don't care how many pronouns you want to have, how many times you want me to call you a she. You're not a she.
Hey, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
You there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm bowing out, man. I'll tell you what. This is good. This is now going to be the Kwuam and Sasquatch show. This guy is more eloquent than I am. He keeps his thoughts together better than I am nothing. This guy is awesome.
Come on. I'm on y'all show. This is y'all show.
Well, I was going to talk to him after the show, but since you mentioned it here.
What time? How are we doing on time?
We are good.
Okay, good. Hey, now let's kind of cross on over to. We've already kind of touched on it, but we were talking earlier. You have some cultural thoughts.
Yes. Okay.
I'm going to get out of your way now.
Well, no, I mean, in what way? Because that's such culture and all that. That's a huge subject.
I know it's a huge subject, but look at the world today. Not just the world. Let's kind of define it to our country. We don't even know what gender we are. What gender we are. We don't know what nation we are. We think we're all everybody. Well, we're just everybody and everything. What's going on from your point of view?
I'll tell you what's going on. We talked about it earlier. Okay, so when the idea of relative truth got implemented and permeated throughout the country, that's when it opened the door for a lot of stuff to come in. And the relative truth movement, so to speak, started in the 60s with, the hippies and all that. And then it got larger. I'm sorry, what?
How old are you?
I am 43.
You're 43. I'm 11 years older than you. Okay, great.
I'm a 70s baby.
I didn't see it. I mean, I know there's this cultural shift in the 60s, but I was a kid. Okay, but I do know that in the 70s, that things were getting very, very, well, I'll just use the word wicked. Okay?
Well, here's the thing. Like in the 60s, we had the official, real civil rights movement, and we had a lot of upheaval. It was the beginning, towards the end, it was the beginning of Vietnam War. And so a lot of things in the country were changing, and some things that needed to change, but others, didn't need to change. It was.
They didn't see that they were fighting as you and I understand it, the establishment.
Right.
That they were just that free love, the marijuana,
right,
that kind of stuff. That has nothing to do with fighting the establishment.
Right. And so when you do that, when you don't keep the main thing, then you begin to let in a whole bunch of other things. Like an ideology had its seeds. The ideology that we're seeing now had its seeds back then. So when my generation, the Generation X, comes along, then the seeds are already planted. And if you remember, they said Generation X, they called us latchkey kids, right? So we were left alone, first generation to be raised by television. So the quote unquote powers that be have, like we said, have that agenda. And so if you look at MTV and everything that was on MTV, and that was the advent of cable stations.
Hold on. I'm going to defend MTV.
Okay.
It's hard to believe. The first time I ever saw MTV is when I joined the Army. It was 1982. I went to my first news station, and they had Cablevision in the dorms. And yeah, I said dorms. There's 4 3-man rooms, and in the middle was a common area, and we called that a dorm. And there was a TV set there, and we had MTV. And you know what they played?
What's that?
Music.
Right.
It was just music. But now, before I joined the Army, and I was not allowed to watch it, but I had a little black and white TV in my bedroom.
Right.
And it came on late night. It was I guess you call it a sitcom called Soap.
I remember that. You
remember that? Yeah. The character played by Billy Crystal was a homosexual.
Yep.
And in my mind, and even when I was a kid, I'm watching it thinking, you're trying to make me think that this is normal.
See, because because you're using your brain even back then.
It happens. Some people can do that. Yes.
Every once in a while, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, so they, that the messages that were received without parents being in the home to like, block them like a goalie, because the parents were out working, both parents. Then my generation grows up thinking that some of these things are okay. That, well, maybe the traditional ways of thinking that homosexuality is wrong. You don't hate them, but the homosexuality part is wrong. We should accept, just as laws to have laws changed and change the definition of marriage. Abortion is wrong. All those things that were traditional that should have stayed traditional, should have stayed in our culture, started getting questioned, right? Without
when you're a kid, and when I was a kid, we didn't think that the homosexual was evil, did we?
No, we didn't. I didn't think it was evil. And here's the thing: the reason why I didn't think it was evil, because it was just different, and we weren't taught to hate anybody. It was just different, and what I felt, as you get older, and now we're in the 2000s, and recent history where they want to change. They had wanted to change the definition of marriage for everybody. And it's like, oh, wait.
So nowadays, we not only we didn't think the homosexual is evil. It's just another human being. We all have our flaws.
Right.
But now we are supposed to embrace their evil activity.
Well, it got to the point. It gets to the point where, if your opinion, and this is the virtue signaling and the SJWs and stuff, if you have a differing opinion and you dare to back it up with facts and a good argument, then all of a sudden you now are the evil one. You now are the pariah. You are the one that needs to be put outside the city gates because you're.
Well, you know why that is, don't you?
Why is that?
Because we are factually correct. They can't fight against the factual correctness of it.
Yep.
And so they have to demonize us.
Hey,
which is kind of funny coming from them. They demonize us when we aren't the demons.
Hey, if I could interject just a little bit here, listening to you two banter back and forth. No, I was watching, just the other day, I was watching an old episode of Friends. We all know what Friends is, right?
Yep.
In this episode, I just had it on in the background. Joey's sister got pregnant, and she didn't have, the guy wasn't in the picture. And Joey is sort of playing the conservative one. He's like, well, you need to get married. You need to have this guy, you need to be a family when you get married. And the sister is saying, well, I don't want to do that, and I don't think it's right, and the baby will be fine. And then everybody else joined in against Joey, telling him how he's wrong. And is Joey
the cool Fonzie one?
He was, the actor one. Yeah. And I'm sitting here watching, and I'm thinking, wow, they are really pushing this hard.
Sasquatch, I'm telling you, that is the programming.
Yes, it is.
That's the programming.
And it just amazed me. And in the end, they all beat Joey down to where he agreed with them. And they told him, well, the baby's going to be so much more loved. And I'm thinking, it could be loved with a father there, too.
Right. So 2 points with that, Sasquatch. What's so funny about that, 2 points with that. One, they do that on purpose to make it seem as though the majority of sane people, the cool crowd, believes like this, so that the normal person watching the television that would be thinking like Joey now will go to his peers and be afraid to voice his opinion because he's assuming that, just like Chandler and everybody else, my opinion is in the minority and nobody wants to be the outcast. Yep. So that's point number one. The point number two is that, they do that on, if you do that on NBC, and then you do that on ABC, and then you do it on CBS, and then you do it in music, and then you do it in movies, and then you do it in politics, then all of a sudden there's this avalanche of leftist liberal ideology that lowly conservative, 17-year-old conservative has to climb up to even get his voice heard,
Now, I don't mean to trip you on this, and I hope I don't. I don't think I'm going to trip you on this. You just went through media, politics, news, entertainment. With me so far?
Yep.
Who is the one that ties it all together?
Well, I can tell where you're where you want to lead me to.
Where?
And as far as if there's a specific person that ties it all together,